Hey there, I am back with another Free the Pip Friday. And this is the series where we take a look at some of the rarest decks out there, give you guys a chance to see what they're all about. And for this one, we're going to take a look at a deck that's a white whale for a lot of people out there. This is Room17 from Stockholm17. Now, before I get into this one, I want to give a special shout out to Jay, a good friend of mine in the card community, and he actually loaned me his deck to be able to feature on the channel. So this one isn't mine, this is his, but I am super excited to get into it and share it with you guys. So let's get into it. Now, Stockholm17 has a lot of fantastic decks to their name, and perhaps none of them is more well known than this one here, House of the Rising Spade. It was on tons of lists as the top deck for 2019, and it's an absolute masterpiece. Beautifully designed all the way through, amazing court cards. The tuck case created by Oath Playing Cards is itself just impressive and opulent all the way through. But Lorenzo decided to follow that up with a new version of House of the Rising Spade in creating Room17. So this one has some of the same cards with some notable differences that we'll talk about in a second from House of the Rising Spade, but brings them into a truly luxury package. And not only that, this deck was actually part of a puzzle that you could solve. So there's some clues inside, and these runes that you see on the tuck here all hide a secret. And if you were one of the first people to solve the puzzle, it has already been solved. But if you were one of the first ones to solve it, you actually won a prize. You could win actually either the first, second, or third serial numbered version of this deck here. So really cool tie-ins. I love adding in the puzzle, but you're here to find out about Room17 itself, so let's get right into it. All right, starting out with the tuck case. It's given this mysterious feel all the way through on a matte red tuck case. I love the red color on this one, and it's covered with embossing and multiple colors of foil. You have both the red foil for these runes around the outside and then gold foil down the center. Speaking of those runes, really not much sense that I can make of them. I haven't personally solved the puzzle, but you can see them shining in the light, and they hide that puzzle solution somewhere within them. And then right down the center, you have the gold line with the giant gold spade pip with some relatively modest embellishment in the center, but a really clean and beautiful look. And then right in the middle, you have the keyhole die cut right out of there. So if I move that a little bit, you can see that's just a little die cut that's giving you a small peek of the card inside. The runes continue down the sides, this time in gold instead of the red. Bottom has your ad copy, so it mentions Stockholm17, of course, and Cartomundi, who printed the cards themselves. The top has Room17, a few more runes, and then you can see up here 2019 when the deck was originally designed. Back just has more of those runes coming all the way down, and then this center sticker here, the gold foiled sticker, gives you the numbering of the deck. So there were 680 made, and this is number 79. Very cool look to it overall. As you open it up, you get the crossed keys there in the center, and then the number 17 with just some embossing on there. So there's no ink on these parts here, just some embossing of some vines and a little diamond pip in the back. Really beautiful and super deep embossing. And then on the inside here, you have the little gold elements here. Again, a couple of simple runes. And then you get more interior printing on this beautiful gold pattern here. If you look really closely, you can see it's kind of a leaf pattern or interlocking leaves, but that embossing makes it almost hard to see some of the pattern, but still very impressive all the way down the tuck case. So super elegant feeling tuck case. Love the simple little cutout on it. Just great feel overall. But let's take a look at the cards. Now the first card out here is just a little puzzle card. So it's actually a little bit differently sized than the rest of the deck. If I put it side by side here with another card, you can see it sticks out just a little bit. But a slightly larger card, not playing card stock or anything like that. But this is a key part of the puzzle overall. So some of these mysterious writings and everything on here will be part of solving the puzzle itself. So get that little addition. And then you get into the main deck. Now, first off, you may have noticed this as I was pulling it out. The main difference between, or the primary difference between this and the cards from House of the Rising Spade is the gold gilding that's applied, and it's fantastic. Super bright, nice mirror finish, very smooth feel to the gilding overall. Just really nicely done on the gilding, and it's a great match for the gold foil that we're going to find all over both sides of this deck. So really nice gilding, beautiful touch. The back design of the cards, if you've seen House of the Rising Spades, is of course the same, but it's a really beautiful design. Black card on this one, the Cartomoancer version of the deck, and then covered with a little bit of sort of grayish white ink, and then lots of gold foiling. The main design is the 4 keys that cross in the center, and the 4 keys represent the 4 different suits. So you have hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades as the 4 keys. Those pips really make this a one-way back design, so it's not a two-way back design at all, but still very ornate and beautiful. You get the 17 Roman numerals and the keyhole at the top, and then the little flourishes all the way around. I like how the gray in here just gives the whole card a little bit of the depth that it really needs with all that gold, and then just that delicate and ornate gold all the way through. Beautiful design, kind of an organic loose border around the edge, more of an implied border, I would say, rather than the hard border you'd normally see, but it does finish out with that black poker border around the edge. So really nice back design to the cards. You get a pair of jokers with it, and this is where the gold foil really starts to take off. So the cards themselves are completely gold foiled and then have the image of the Joker printed on them. Amazing artwork as always from Lorenzo. The beautiful color scheme, just those sort of oranges, reds, and greens all the way through. The serene look on the 2 jokers, just a great feel to them overall. Kind of gives you the feel of a otherworld sort of jester feel. So a little bit jester, but a little bit fanciful take on it overall. All the characters you see here are characters that are meant to live together in the House of the Rising Spade. And so you can imagine these are the jesters that would maybe entertain the courts, in their own way. I love the addition of these sort of cryptic white lines, and now he has Joker just very sort of abstractly or crazily written down the center. But beautiful pair of jokers, really impressive use of that gold foil and the shine all the way down. This other card, another kind of cryptic, mysterious one. You have the lion sitting on the bottom, more of those runes in a pattern, the key sitting there, the X and the 7, so the 10 and the 7 for 17 at the top. Again, I wonder, I don't know if this is part of solving the puzzle overall, but a nice, interesting, I'll call this an ad card for lack of a better way of looking at it, maybe a 3rd joker. And you get a gaff card. Now, as you're gonna see, this is not a deck that's terribly useful for Magic, but you do get a double backer gaff card. All right, now to the deck itself, and we'll start with the Ace of Spades. Again, super beautiful, super ornate. Lots of that gold foil, so the background of this one is almost completely gold. You have the Room17, a pair of crossed keys in the back representing the 4 suits, and then the large spade pip in the center. Of course, it's labeled as House of the Rising Spade from the deck's original name. And that large spade pip has kind of a black and white image of a bunch of different characters. So you have here standing guard in the center, the King and Queen of Spades from the deck, each of them holding their keys almost like they're giant long swords, beautifully illustrated. And then on the sides here, you have this some woman, I don't know who this is, but she's sort of practicing, I don't know, tarot or divination of some sort. So you can see one here reading a book and holding a card in her hands, and then another one almost laying cards on the table, almost like she's doing a tarot reading. So really nice Ace of Spades, very familiar to Stockholm's overall style. Lorenzo likes to draw these spade pips with lots of illustration, almost kind of compartmentalized in illustration in them. You'll see some sort of similar things if you look at like the Raven decks and things like that. And then at the bottom, Stockholm17 playing cards written out. The other 3 aces are much simpler, but start to kind of flesh out the feel of this deck representing the actual house that those courts live in. So each one of the different courts is labeled with one of the rooms from the house So you have the cellar, attic, and library on the club, diamond, and heart cards respectively. Relatively simple pips in the center, fully custom though. And then these sort of twisted designs or shapes or runes, whatever you want to call it, in gold foil on the front. Each of them has a key representing their respective suits at the bottom, again done in gold foil, and the borders continue that look of the gold. So really nicely done. The backs on these are not done in the foil, but are kind of given an aged, weathered parchment look to them. So really nice, not as ornate as the Ace of Spades, but still impressive. Oh, and I should say, there is no pip and index in the corner. So this deck is meant to be used a little bit more like a tarot deck, one where you would basically lay the cards out flat to where you can easily see the whole card. And so that corner pip and index that you would use if the cards were fanned out, not as necessary on these. All right, so now going through the rest of the number cards, these are all done beautifully with, again, that sort of tarot style layout. So the number here is just written on the top center, and then you have the simple pips in the middle. All of them going one way, so this is definitely designed to be more of a one-way style deck. And again, sort of speaks to its use more as a tarot style deck or something like that. But fairly standard shape to the custom pips. They are given a slightly rougher, more hand-drawn look, but they get that unique layout overall that really stands out. You'll see as you go from the black to the red cards, not only the pips switch from the classic black to the classic red, but the background goes from this sort of gray to a more off-white or yellowish sort of background color for that parchment feel. But really beautifully done pips all the way through. I like what was done on this. I like the slight customization on the shape of the pips, and of course the little touches of gold foil, and just all the way through, just a really beautifully done set of number cards. All right, so that's the number cards, and then we get into the court. So the House of the Rising Spade has the characters that live within it, and they are fantastically illustrated by Lorenzo on these cards. So as you go through, each one of them has a one-way court and just fabulous illustration all the way through. You'll see, of course, no index in the corner. So the J is just sort of written in a, random almost spot here in the middle. So you have the small J here in the center, and then you have the mysterious robed figure wrapped with a snake, has this really menacing looking curved dagger. Beautiful illustration. Love the ornate details on the clothes as well. And then as you go through the other cards, each one is given just a truly unique feel. This one, the Queen of Spades, has this horned helmet, almost like Maleficent or something like that, has the long spindly staff or sword in her hand. And then the King of Spades, one of the most iconic cards from the whole deck, this Black Knight with the menacing helmet, the crown, and then this hand sword of some sort in his hands too. So really nice look to it overall. The diamonds now bring in more characters. Sometimes you'll see the animals with them. I love that sometimes you get them in profile or head on, just really beautiful designs. And as you go through these, sometimes you'll see again these sort of cryptic shapes with lines, circles, and angles all the way through, just kind of lending to this mysterious feel to the deck overall. There's your Queen of Diamonds and the King of Diamonds with that short sword over his shoulder. All right, then into the clubs. Love this one with the cat in the hand. Wondering if that's a subtle reference to like Le Chat Rouge, one of Stockholm's other decks, which is really based around a black cat. There's into the Queen of Clubs. Really like the sort of serene looks as she looks kind of back towards the camera, if you will. And then the King of Clubs. Really like that white curved sword that he's got there. And finally, the hearts. This one's sort of a falconer, so he has the bird perched in front of him as he looks on stoically. The Queen of Hearts with that really ornate staff there. And my favorite card in the whole deck, the King of Hearts. I can't get enough of that lion helmet that's kind of pulled over his eyes. Gives him that really noble feel. Love that giant sword too, peeking out of his robe. So that is the courts, the characters that live in the House of the Rising Spade. And that completes the deck. Beautiful work overall. As far as handling, I will say these handle, I'm going to say surprisingly well. For a gilded deck, they still fan nicely. You'll get little bits of clumping, but really not much, not nearly as much as you'd expect for a gilded deck, where sometimes that they can stick together and really clump. So these fan cut really beautifully. You do get a little bit of sticking when you try to cut these, so I wouldn't recommend using these for cardistry. Not that I think too many people are going to use them that way. But all in all, it's a functional deck that, look, if you wanted to use this and like shuffle it or something like that, it actually would serve reasonably well. But that's it. That is the look at Room 17. Now, I usually stop here to talk about uses of this deck, but I'm not going to fool anybody. Look, this is such a high art deck, such a rare and valuable deck. I can't imagine many people are going to use this for anything beyond an art collector's edition. So really, let's call this what it is. It's a collector's deck. It's an art deck. I'm sure you could use this for gameplay or tarot readings or something like that, but I can't imagine that's where most people are going to be. So that's it. That's the look at Room 17. Thanks again to Jay for loaning me his deck to take a look at, and thanks to Lorenzo for designing an absolute masterpiece of a deck. These are clearly going to be hard to get a hold of. They're going to command top dollar if you can get them. But if you like what you see here, hey, join the hunt. There's lots of other people out looking for this deck too. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this look at Room 17 from Stockholm 17. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.